Right. Good evening, everybody. Or good afternoon, I guess it would be by this point. Hopefully everybody's doing well. I certainly am. Just ready to get this stream started. Today we're going from Cleveland to Detroit. And we're doing it in a premiere, a Beechcraft premiere. So, yeah. And open YouTube. I'm going to send this link to a few people, and then we'll get started. We're going to do it with VATSIM. I've already got my flight plan filed. Everything's filed, ready to roll, so we're good there. And, so yeah. So just give me a minute, and we'll get going. I'm just getting everything going. That's the avionics. And for people who have vision, you'll have to let me know how the video looks, people who have sight, because I don't know how the video looks, so it may be not existent for all I know. My videos, let's see. Okay, good. It does work. Share. Let's see. I'm just sharing this right quick. Copy link. Thank you. Okay. Y'all can chat in the thing if y'all want. Y'all can chat in the chat. Okay, and as I said, y'all can post chats in the comments if you wish, or text them to me for people who have my actual number. If you want to text your comments to me, that's totally understandable. So as I said, we're flying in the Beechcraft Premier 1A. I'm going to do a VFR flight plan. It's not going to be IFR because I don't really feel like setting all that up, and it's just from Cleveland to Detroit anyway. So I don't think it's really practical to do a flight in a VFR or in a jet VFR, but you can. They're not going to tell you no. ATC isn't going to tell me no on VATSIM. So with that being said, I don't really think that would matter. So what we're going to do is we are going to switch into vPilot here, which is the client I used to give me my ATC. And as I said, y'all can... Oh, let me open Restream Chat. I'm smart. I forgot to open that. No wonder I'm not getting chats. Sorry about that. Okay. That's why. Okay, we're back in the sim. Okay. No wonder I wasn't getting chats. I'm so smart. Now if y'all send messages, I should get them. Okay. So we're going to go... Okay. Okay, no ATIS. So it's 134.9 is the frequency. So this might be a little bit unrealistic, but I start my engines before I call them that I'm ready. Just so that way when I'm ready, they can go ahead and tell me when to go. It's just a lot easier. So we'll start the engines here with Control E. You will get sound. As I said, people, if y'all can actually see the video, you'll have to let me know how that turns out because I cannot. So. Okay, there's number 1 starting. I will... Ignition. Let's do Control E. That way it only starts one engine. A little bit more realistic that way. So we have that engine started. Now we'll start the other engine. Yep, number 2. It should be starting 2 and 1, realistically, but it starts 1 and 2. So, and I don't know if there's a way I can fix that in FSX to make it start another engine. I don't know if there's a way for me to do that or not. But, whatever. We will see. Alright, start that other engine. Then we'll call Cleveland. Okay. Sometimes it blocks out the sound too. We'll wait for that sound to come back, and then I'll get clearance for flight following from them. Because I'm at Cleveland, KCLE, and they are controlled. I was going to depart out of Atlanta, but Atlanta's not online on VADSIM, so I can't do that. Alright, so let's get clearance from Cleveland right quick. Cleveland, good evening. Premier 390 Juliet Lima is with you. We're at parking, and we would like VFR flight following to Detroit Metro, please.
For 390 Juliet Lima, Cleveland, select the aircraft type and requested cruise altitude this evening.
Hello.
Hello. Yes, sir. It's a Beechcraft Premier 1A, and we would like an altitude of cruising altitude of 15,500 if possible for 390 Juliet Lima.
390 Juliet Lima cleared into the Cleveland class Bravo airspace. Maintain VFR at below 2,500 until advised. Departure frequency 134.9er. Squawk 5720.
Squawk 5720 for 390 Juliet Lima.
90 Juliet Lima, read back correct. Runway 6 right for departure Cleveland altimeter 3013.
3013, and can you repeat the runway for departure for 390 Juliet Lima?
Expect runway 6 right for departure.
6 right. And can you confirm the squawk for me one more time? My apologies. I read it back and then forgot it.
290 Juliet Lima, no problem. Squawk 5720, 5720.
Okay, 5720 for 390 Juliet Lima. So .x 5720. Let's go ahead and squawk that. So now essentially I've got my clearance. He's told me. So this might be a little bit non-realistic for real life. You don't, in real life, I think if you just read back a squawk code, I don't think ATC will go for that in real life. If you just say squawk 5720, I think they want all the read back in real life, but in FSX they'll deal with just a squawk code. They'll deal with it. So you don't have to read back every single thing, which is nice. It helps out, especially if you're in a busy airport. This, I probably could have got away with reading the whole thing, but I did not. So, there's that. But hey, whatever works. He got his read back. He's happy. So, we have our clearance. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to... Now, this part's obviously non-realistic. You wouldn't just teleport onto a runway in real life as a pilot. But since I am visually impaired, I cannot taxi the runway. If he says taxi via Juliet Bravo, I can't taxi. There's no way I can possibly taxi. So what I'm going to have to do is tell him I'm visually impaired, tell him I'm using software, and ask him, can I teleport onto the runway? Most controllers are accommodating about this. Most will be okay with it. Some are not. But most I've encountered are like, okay, do what you gotta do. As long as you obey the rules to the best of your ability, we'll let you slide with a few. So that's nice. It helps out a lot. So we'll go ahead and radio in and tell him that now. And Cleveland Premier 390 Juliet Lima, we are ready to teleport to the runway at your discretion. If you can, please take a look at our flight remarks. We're actually a visually impaired pilot and flying with software, so we're going to need to teleport to the runway at your discretion. We can do everything else. We're just unable to taxi.
Yep, so teleportation to runway 6 right is approved.
Alrighty, we'll teleport to runway 6 right, and we'll let you know when we are ready for departure for 390 Julia Lima. Okay, so we'll teleport to 6 right.
Delta 1713, just to maintain 5. Correction, just to maintain 3000, Detroit altitude 3021.
So maintain 3000, come Delta 30.
6 right.
When we have information, go.
Okay, let that load. It's
Simulation unpause.
teleporting
Time
you
acceleration is
like
1.
it just did. Nice. And Cleveland Premier 390 Juliet Lima is on runway 6 right, ready for departure.
390 Juliet Lima, wind 340 20 gust 26, fly heading 360, runway 6 right, cleared for takeoff.
360 on the heading and 6 right, clear for takeoff. 390 Juliet Lima. So let's run takeoff.
Switching to true heading display for departure.
That's a takeoff warning. This plane doesn't like the fact that I'm using
Going
software to
across
do it.
my pallet and maintain
Stroke and enemy lights on.
16,000,
So
out.
after departure, I've got to set my heading to 360 because he gave me a 360 heading. I can't set it before departure.
Speed
Flight
set
Roll 160,
Takeoff.
altimeter
NAV on.
2998, runway gate 1.
V1. Rotate. NAV on.
Positive rate, gear up. Okay.
Gear up.
It's just
Heading
a-
set to a true heading of 50 degrees. Flaps up.
Now we can set our
Lights
heading
off.
because he wanted us on that 360
Resume
heading.
mode navigation, sir.
So set heading 360. Let's go 360.
Heading set to a true heading of 360 degrees.
Say altitude
Current altitude is 1,875 feet.
1,875 feet. It's a jet, so it climbs pretty quick. And Center Premier 390 Juliet Lima is airborne with you, just passing 1,000. You have to let them know you're airborne. In real life, you don't have to do that if it's towered.
390 Juliet Lima, please on center radar, contact, proceed on course. Cancel altitude restrictions, maintain VFR.
Roger on that. We'll proceed on course and we'll maintain VFR altitude for 390 Juliet Lima. Okay, so when he says proceed on course, that just means we can basically do whatever we want. We can, well, not do whatever we want, but we can maintain VFR altitude and proceed toward wherever we're going. So we're going to tell the...
1713, turn left heading 130.
Left heading 130, Delta 7.
Distant target KDTW selected.
Okay. So we're going to do set speed 0. Let me set this up and I'll tell you guys why I had to do all this.
Speed set to 250
Set
knots.
altitude 15,500.
Altitude set to 15,500 feet.
Set climb 1,700 feet a minute. And it did not do it. Set climb.
Climb rate set to 1,700 feet per minute.
Okay, set climb rate 1,700 feet a minute. And what's my airspeed?
Indicated airspeed is 238 knots.
Okay,
sir.
238. Say altitude. Let me just make
Current
sure I'm
altitude is
climbing.
4,665
Okay, 4,000.
feet.
So
Sir.
I had to set my speed to 250 knots because below 10,000 feet, you are limited to 250 knots. You cannot exceed 250 knots below 10,000 feet. So that's why I'm having to do that. And so I wanted to go to 15,500, which is my cruising altitude. And I set a climb rate of 1,700 feet a minute. Since we're in a jet, we can climb pretty quick. I mean, that's going decent up. So that's why I had to do that. Now we pretty much ride because there's no departure frequency. Because Cleveland Center is currently controlling Cleveland on the ground and all of
13,
Cleveland.
turn left heading 070, intercept the runway 4 left localizer.
Roger, left heading 070, intercept localizer, runway 4 left, Delta 7.
Oh well, no wonder he's doing that. He's doing a he's a
And Delta 1713, sorry about that. Looks like you are going to blaze through. Turn left heading 020, re-intercept local weather.
020,
okay. So we're doing all right.
And Delta 1713, 8 miles from Asley, maintain 3000 till established. Cleared ISC, 4 left approach.
Yeah, last Zulu runway 4 left on the 1713.
All right, so now we're just over Ohio. We kind of braced over Lake Michigan a little bit, and the only reason I know that is because I have another add-on called Talking Flight Monitor running. You guys can't hear the screen reader because I don't have it piped through the same sound card. But it tells me what city we're over. As we're flying over it, it tells me the city and where it's bearing. So it'll tell me it's, you know, if it's 180, 0, 30. It'll give me that information. As well as it'll tell me speed indicated. Oh, and that's one thing I forgot to mention. So when I said the 250 knots speed limit, that is 250 knots indicated below 10,000 feet is what you can run. It's not, I mean, your ground speed's obviously going to be above that, but as long as it's indicated airspeed, that's all that matters. They don't really care. Speaking of which, let me check what altitude we're at. Let's see, altitude.
Current altitude is 9,379 feet, sir.
Okay, we're at 9,000 feet. We can't exceed our speed. I'm going to go about 315. I want to. I'm going to see how far we are out. And then given by that, when we get up to our cruise altitude, is how fast I'll go. Because I might go... Yeah, we're just past the 10,000 feet. So, yeah, we're doing pretty good. So now that we're up above 10,000 feet, well, I'll give it a little bit to climb to make sure. And I may get some comments asking me, why are you not going to 17,500? You can do that. That's VFR altitude. Yes, it's VFR altitude. But the reason I'm not doing that is because my software that I'm using to help fly, it likes to jump altitude. And since I'm on with ATC, I don't want ATC to say, oh, well, you're going out of your altitude. It likes to sometimes go above the altitude. So I want to give it a little bit of headroom. That way if the software messes up...
1713-134-020, gust 28, runway 4 left, clear to land.
I've got time. Yeah, it's windy. And I do have an add-on that does real weather. So it's called Active Sky. So I'm getting the real weather, how it actually is in Ohio. So that's how this works in sim. And I can fly things like Cessnas and stuff like that too. I can do pretty much anything. I would fly commercial, but I'm still learning how to control all that yet, and I don't want to fly out on stream because I'm not 100% how to control it as of yet. And I'll probably make an idiot of myself if I tried to fly that on stream, so I'll leave that to somebody who's more experienced, and then when I get more experienced, I'll do it. Say altitude.
Current altitude is 12,980
Okay, 12,000 feet. Say arrival time.
Estimated time en route to KDTW is 0 hours 15 minutes. Estimated
Okay,
arrival time
15
is March
minutes?
6, 2020,
How
17,
far are
16, and
we
8
out?
seconds.
60. Okay, so we're 60 miles out. I'm not going to increase it to 315. There's no point in speeding right up to 315 knots just to have to slow back down. In fact, I probably shouldn't have filed for 15,500 cruise altitude. That was probably a little bit too high, but whatever. It's fine. And I don't know if Cleveland's going to control me into Detroit or not. If they are, I'm going to have to radio him and have him vector me on a downwind for that runway, because the way the software works, is I can do it all on my own without vectors, but it brings me around the airport and does stupid stuff to enter a traffic pattern. So if he can, I'm just going to ask for vectors to the runway because it just makes my life easier. The controllers don't radio me, "What are you doing?" Just makes my life easier if I do it that way. Plus, I'm doing this flight too as a small little flight to get on a stream because a lot of people have been wanting me to stream. So, okay, so now we're currently over Lake Erie, and I don't know what it shows visually. That's actually a good question. I don't know if it shows that I'm over water since I'm at VFR altitude, or if it, decent question. See, they treat VATSIM like they do real life flying. So I mean, if you pilot in real life, you pretty much can get on VATSIM and follow the same rules. I mean, naturally they'll make exceptions, like teleporting to the runway for me, like they did for me at Cleveland. They don't make that exception.
Center, good afternoon, United 479 Heavy, flight level 390.
At 479 Heavy, Cleveland Center, good evening.
So he was just checking in. That aircraft was just contacting him. Tonight there's what's called an FNO, or Friday Night Ops, on VATSIM, where the full flight is supposed to be fully stocked with ATC. So you get ground or clearance delivery, ground tower, departure center, all the shebang. If that's something you guys are interested in, let me know and I might stream that. Because I might try to do it. It's from Calgary to Seattle, which I looked up. I can do VFR. That won't take that long. It'll take like an hour or two. But if you want to see a fully stocked airport on VATSIM and Flight Sim and see how that works, I can jump in. And I don't know if anybody's commenting or if Restream just crashed. I'll laugh if my stupid Restream crashed. I'll laugh. Ontario is the closest thing to us. How far are we out? 45. I'm not going to start my descent yet. I'll start it at about 39 out. Start going down to about 9,500, because he's not. He would have told me if he was going to control me into Detroit, so he may just let me do my own thing and hand me over to Detroit Tower. Which I hate it when there's no approach online and there's just tower, because it makes it a lot more difficult, because then I don't get vectors and then tower wonders what I'm doing. So I have to explain a bunch of stuff. And it's not the controller's fault. It's just the way the software flies with things and the way that it works. So it's by no means the controller's fault. And normally I'd get ATIS for Detroit, which ATIS is Automatic Terminal Information Service. It gives you the weather. They don't have AWAS in VATSIM. They don't have AWAS. They have just ATIS, but the ATIS isn't up for Detroit, so I can't get the ATIS. Which is nice. That means I don't have to say Detroit Premier 390 Gillette Lima is with you. Information Papa blah blah blah, or whatever the ATIS information is at that point. I don't have to do any of that. So it does make my job a little bit easier. in a sense. Well, I shouldn't say it's nice, because really it's not that big of a deal. But hey, whatever. How far are we out? 34. Yep, we're gonna start sending some set climb minus.
Climb rate set to minus 1,700 feet per minute.
Speed to about 160.
Speed set to 160 knots.
Set altitude 9,500.
Altitude set to 9,500 feet.
Speed up. Set speed to.
For 3900 Juliet,
Speed set to 260 knots.
Current altimeter 3025, the airport at your 12 o'clock and 20 miles, report inside.
3025 for the altimeter, and we have the field in sight for 390 Lima.
390 Juliet, Lima, enter right, downwind, runway to right.
If at all possible, we're visually impaired. We're actually flying with software. We're going to need vectors 2 to 3 right, if at all possible, for the 90 Lima.
Alright, Juliet Lima, are you going to be able to descend on your own towards the airport, or would you like to send vectors as well?
No, we can descend on our own toward the airport, unless you think it might be best to give us descend vectors, but, we're currently at a 15,500 going to 9,500 now, so whatever you think's best for you, and I just don't want to get in the way of any traffic for 390 Lima.
Alright, Juliet Lima, I'll get you close to the field, and then I'll probably put you on a similar to a right downwind heading, which will probably be like a 210 heading once you're about like 45 miles from the airport, and then turns inbound.
Roger on that. That sounds great for 390 Lima. Okay, so he's gonna vector me, which is awesome. That helps me out a lot. And they do vector in real life. Real pilots actually get vectored if they need it. They will vector. This is not just a sim thing that they're doing for me. They'll vector anybody if they need it. So it's nice. See, I could probably do a talk, like if I had to talk on real ATC in a real aircraft, I could probably do it. Because I've been doing this for so long, I could do it easy enough. Not a problem. Because the phraseology doesn't change. Obviously your tail number and your call sign have changed, but the phraseology doesn't change. I could do it easy enough. No problem. Oh, let me hide that. Y'all were just staring at my autopilot main panel. I was smart and left it open. I got busy talking to ATC and not paying attention to the stream. Way to go, Joseph. That's quite the thing to do. How far are we out? I want to start. 20.7. Yeah, we're going to slow down to 160.
Speed set to 160 knots.
I'll slow that down to about 160. Yeah, I know that might be slow for a jet, but I don't want to be going 250 knots, then him trying to vector me, then me having to watch my speed. I'd rather go ahead and be at a safe speed now. That way when he tries to land me, I'm right on. It's just a whole lot easier for me to do. Okay, so we're slowing down pretty nicely. I believe. Yeah. good. Gets crazier. This one's just kind of calm, which I kind of wanted my first streamed flight to be calm and short. So this actually worked out quite well. And, yeah, working out pretty easy. Okay, so it's bringing that throttle up. So we probably reached 160. It's just bringing that throttle. I can control the throttle manually, by the way. If I tell it, if I disable the next flight, I might try to do on like a 172 or 182 or something and do manual control of everything. But in a jet, especially when he's gonna vector me, or if I'm in control airfield the whole time, which if I'm not if I'm not controlled, you still have a Unicom in VATSIM, but in FSX, the flight sim. But the only difference is the Unicom is on 122.8 for every airport. That's the Unicom frequency. So you just advise your intentions like you would any other airport, if anybody's familiar with that. So you just say, blah, blah, blah traffic, I don't know, Premier 390 Juliet Lima is on a left-hand traffic pattern for runway whatever. Then you'll say base, downwind, final. Just anything you're doing to advise intentions really is what you're aiming for. I might end up doing another flight tonight. There's probably going to be a lot more control on as the night goes on, especially with it being a Friday, so I'll probably do a lot more flying and stuff like that. And I filed my flight plan. If you guys are interested, I can show y'all how I file a flight plan at some point in the near future. I did all that before I started streaming. That way I could just, get in the plane, go. The avionics are already fired up, ready to go, so. That was someone messaging, so let's go check that. Oh. That was the sender talking to somebody through text. Now that's the thing that's simulated. In real life, you're not going to get a controller that's texting you your instructions. It's either in voice or you don't fly. One of the two. Unless they send you a PDC, which is a pre-departure clearance, then they'll text you in real life. But that's a
Park 390 Juliet Lima. Turn left heading 210.
210 for 390 Juliet Lima. Set heading 210.
Heading set to a true heading of 210 degrees.
Okay, now we're turning. So he gives us a heading. And when he tells us heading, since we requested vectors, we have to obey that. Did I set my climb rate?
Altitude is 14,980 feet, sir.
I hope did I tell it minus, let me see. Set climb minus 1,700.
Climb rate set to minus 1,700 feet per minute.
I'm smart. I didn't tell it to go a negative climb rate, so we weren't descending that whole time. Oh. Man, I hate it when I make stupid mistakes like that. I hate it when I do that. Oh well, if he has to, he can just vector me around and let me descend, I guess. Crap. Hate it when I do that. Despise it. But oh well, he can just vector me around, I guess, if he has to. We might be able to pull it off, though, and I'm going 1,700 feet a minute. So, we're already at 14,000, so we should make a pretty
390
decent...
Juliet Lima, turn right heading 230.
230 for 390 Juliet Lima.
Heading set to a true heading of 230 degrees.
Yeah, you guys are going to hear me cut out when he talks to me. My ultimate goal when he's talking is to listen to him, because he's giving me instruction. Unless it's to another aircraft, then I'll just talk right over him. But because when you're on ATC, you have to give them readback. For those of you who don't know, who are watching and don't really know, you have to give them readback. So if they say Premier, we'll just shorten it, Premier 0 Juliet Lima, runway 22 right, clear to land. If the tower tells me that, I have to say, runway 22 right, clear to land for 0 Juliet Lima. And then you proceed with what you were doing. That's what they call readback. And when you're taxiing, like if a pilot's taxiing and they say, taxi Lima, hold short of Alpha, then continue at Charlie, you'd say Lima, hold short at Alpha, continue Charlie, and then you would say your call sign again. That's how that works. But like I said, with me not being able to taxi, I always have to ask to teleport, because I'm unable to do that. One day I'll get it in an airport and I'll stream when they have more. Like I hope Atlanta comes on today.
390 Juliet Lima, turn right heading 310.
310 for 390 Juliet Lima. 310.
Heading set to a true heading of 310 degrees.
Now you hear that voice talking, and that's just saying heading set to a true heading of because it's telling me. That's what's called FSX pilot, and it's telling me that it's setting that heading to 310 degrees. So it's doing alright. And I don't know why my restream's not reading comments. I'll have to figure that out. This is actually my first actual true stream. I've been wanting to stream for a while. I just hadn't. So if this ain't working right, then bear with me. I'll fix it. But I would have tried to fix it during cruise, but since this was such a short flight, I didn't bother with it. And I'm not about to mess with it on landing. Not when he's vectoring me, anyway. I think Detroit Tower's on, so he's probably gonna do is center is probably gonna get me vectored on the runway, get me set up for that downwind. I'm gonna enter the downwind as best I can, but it's really gonna have to be a traffic pattern. It's just the way the software does it. And he's gonna hand me over to tower, and I'm gonna tell him, you know, what runway, and he'll tell me clear to land, and tower will handle me from there.
390 Juliet Lima, contact Metro Tower 135.0.
35-0, 390 Juliet Lima. Thank you for your help and have a great weekend.
Bye.
I forgot the... Metro Tower, good evening. Premier 390 Juliet Lima is with you, and I believe it was runway 2 right. I was talking and forgot the runway. I do that sometimes, though. It's no huge deal.
November 390 Juliet Lima, Metro Tower, hello. Wind 340 at 18, gusting 27, runway 3 right, clear to land.
3 right, my bad for the mess up, and 3 right, clear to land for 390 Lima.
Target KDTW 03 are selected.
Localism is alive. Flight slope is alive. NAV1 is localism.
Runway. KDTW 03 are selected for traffic pattern. Sir.
Okay, 3 right.
Switching
I
to
told
true
it to
heading
do a
display
traffic
approach.
pattern. I'm a
Sir.
little nervous about this because sometimes the software does it, sometimes it doesn't. But here's the nice thing, guys. Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 is supposed to come out in October, and it's supposed to be more friendly to the visually impaired. Like, they have actual Air Force pilots and who have actually lost their vision, and they're testing it. So it's gonna be a lot better. So I'm only gonna have to put up with this halfway piloting for not much longer. I'm ready for FS 2020. I'm grateful for what's there, don't get me wrong, but it's frustrating when you're constantly having to coordinate with controllers and worry about, oh crap, is this going to work? Is it going to do what I want it to do? Nervous. It may take me around. I hope it doesn't, because then I'm going to have to explain the tower. But thank goodness, and thank you, VATSIM, for understanding this. A lot of controllers, they understand that I'm visually impaired, and they understand that I'm doing the best that I can. So I am thankful for that. That they understand that, oh, he is flying with software. It may not be right on point. So I am forever thankful for that they understand that. And some controllers know me on VATSIM. I've seen a few that
2500.
That's the radio altimeter, 2500. Well, it's the radio altimeter, and then it's
Think rate.
November 390 Juliet Lima.
Think
You want to go around?
Think rate.
Flaps 1.
yeah, that's affirmative.
downwind.
We're
Sir.
actually a visually impaired pilot, and we're flying with software. And sometimes what it'll do is it'll take me on a go around and then re-bring me back in for 3 right for 390 Lima.
That's fine. I'm just going to be giving you a heading. 1 second.
Roger on that. I don't know how the heading is going to be with the software, because what happens is we have to do a traffic pattern land. So I told it the runway to go to on the traffic pattern. Usually when I'm lined up to it, it's okay. It says we're downwind for runway 3 right though now for 390 Lima.
You're on the downwind for 3 right. You're on the left downwind. I'm just going to transfer you over to center for 1 second.
Roger on that for 390 Lima. This is the only thing I don't like about landing, you guys. This is it.
Alright, November 390 Juliet Lima. You're going to stay with tower because it's the pattern.
Roger on that. We'll stay with you for 390 Lima. Sorry for all the difficulties, by the way. I really do apologize for that.
No problem, sir. Enter the base enter left base for 3 right, 1 after. Okay.
Alright, roger that. We'll enter the base for 3 right, whenever, for 390 Lima. See, I'm thankful. The controllers coordinate. They let me, they understand. See, it really helps. Because I know the phraseology. I know what they want.
1000.
It's just being able to do what they want when they want it. So
1,000.
as long as they see I'm
Report
trying.
base, sir.
Okay, now we're on the base. We've entered the base.
1,000.
It said report base. I wouldn't report base right now because I'm in a control field. But if I'm on Unicom, I'd say Premier 39 Detroit traffic. Premier 390 Juliet Lima is on a left base for runway 3 right. Detroit traffic. That's essentially the terminology I would use if I were at an uncontrolled airport.
Flaps 2. Gear down. Landing lights on.
And Tower Premier 390
Report
Juliet
vitals,
Lima, just
sir.
confirming we are clear to
1,000
clear to
feet,
land
sir.
runway 3 right.
November 390 Juliet Lima, wind 340 at 18, gusting 27 runway 3 right, clear to land.
3 right, clear to land. Thank you so much for 390 Juliet Lima.
Flight slope. Flight slope.
500.
Flight slope. Flight slope.
That's it,
Flight
telling me it's
500.
a little bit off the
slope.
glide slope.
Flight slope.
Okay.
Flight slope.
400.
Flight slope. Flight slope.
400.
Flight slope. Flight slope. Flight slope.
300.
Flight slope. Flight slope.
300.
Flight
Shut
slope.
up, plane. I know
Flight
I'm off the
slope.
glide slope. Shut
Flight
up, radio
slope.
altimeter.
Flight slope. Flight slope. Flight slope. Flight slope.
Oh my
200.
lord.
Flight slope.
I
Flight
know
slope.
I'm off the
Flight slope.
glide slope. Now
Flight
hush.
slope. Flight slope. Flight slope. Flight slope. Flight slope.
Yes, I know that.
Flight slope.
Minimum
Thanks for
flight
stating the
200.
obvious, plane. Thank you. Now you shut up. I'm
100.
100. Come on.
100.
100.
50. 40. 30. 20.
50.
10.
40. 30. 20. 10.
Ah. That was a bit hard and a terrible landing. Not my best at all. I'm not proud of that. Stop right here. Parking brake on. And Detroit Tower Premier 390 Juliet Lima is vacated the runway. We're actually a visually impaired pilot, as previously stated, so we're going to disconnect from the network, but I do want to thank you for your service and thank you for working with us, and have yourself a great weekend.
Have a great weekend, sir.
Yes, sir, you too. 390 Juliet Lima. See ya! Disconnect. Okay. So now, I'm going to shut down the engines here. Exit the autopilot software. Because we can. And we will wait for those engines to shut off. And I think we'll call it. That was welcome to Detroit. We had a rather interesting landing there. Like I said, I'm not proud of that landing, but hey, I don't care. I landed the thing. I think half of that might have been too because I descended a little bit wrongly. I should have kind of paid more attention to that, but I did not. So it's kind of an issue. But anywho, so I think what we're gonna go ahead and do is stop the stream here. I may start another one here in a bit once things pick up a little bit on VATSIM. I'll wait for things to pick up a little bit and get more controllers online, and we will we'll start back up again. I hope to fly out of Atlanta, KETL Hartsfield, because that you really get a lot of controllers out of Atlanta, and those guys are wonderful to fly out with, and also, as well as Cleveland and Detroit. I flew into, was it Detroit I flew into? Or was it Cincinnati? I don't remember, but either way I flew in, and I've dealt with these controllers before, and they were very accommodating, so I do thank them for that, and all controllers for being accommodating. But I think we'll go ahead and stop it here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and like I said, we'll catch you on the next one. We'll have more people watching probably too as time goes on, and the evening gets, people get off from work, school, whatever they got to do and everything, and get more controllers on, and it'll be fun. So we will catch you guys later.